Hi everyone, I wanted to take a few minutes to address a really important concept, and that is plagiarism. And I know that a lot of times plagiarism is approached really negatively, or it's kind of a scary word, but really it's important that we discuss plagiarism because that's how we can make sure that everyone avoids it. Now, I really kind of want to flip things over to the positive form instead of focusing on plagiarism and why it's bad. Let's talk about academic honesty and academic integrity. You are all here because you are smart, you are capable, you are dedicated, you are persistent, and you are able to pass this class on your own. You are able to pass this class ethically and honestly and with integrity. And so that's how you're going to write, and that's how you're going to approach your topics and your subjects. So one component of being academically honest is to always make clear when you use information from other people, and that information might be a quote. You're all familiar with quotes. You take exactly what somebody says, you put it in quotation marks, and then you tell who said it. So maybe you're taking it that way. Maybe though you're just going to kind of paraphrase or summarize what someone says. But no matter how you take information from another person, whether you quote or you paraphrase or you summarize, it is absolutely essential that you give credit, because that's how you can write ethically, and that's how you can write honestly. And now that's a really important concept, because here, and this is not true in all cultures, some cultures have different takes on plagiarism, but here in America, ideas are valued and so are words. And so when somebody comes up with really great words, great enough that you want to quote them, the honest thing is to give them credit. When somebody has a really great idea, even if you can use your own words and paraphrase or summarize, the ideas were someone else's, and ideas are valued here, so we need to give that person credit. Okay, and so to write honestly and to write ethically, we're going to credit anyone's ideas that we take, no matter how we include them in our own writing. Another thing to remember is that to write honestly, you need to write originally. Okay, and so to write originally means that most of the words and most of the ideas are original to you. Okay, so you can credit someone honestly, but if you quote 6 paragraphs of your paper, or you paraphrase 4 paragraphs of your paper, even if you do that ethically and honestly by giving credit, you still don't really have your own paper, right? What you've done is you've compiled somebody else's work, and you've put your name on that paper, and so there's no originality there. So what I hope that you'll remember is that this is your writing, and you need to be evident in every single paragraph, not just a little bit, but you should be the driving voice. So to write ethically, to write honestly, you are the central voice of every paragraph, and then you're going to bring in that evidence to serve as the expert opinion, the voice of authority, the credibility to back these great, original, unique ideas that you want to share. And so really, we could go into a lot of specifics here, but I'm going to leave this initial discussion on plagiarism, academic honesty, as those two things. To write academically, honestly in an academic setting, you need to credit anything you take, words, ideas, anything you take from anyone else, very clearly in your paper. And then second, you need to write originally, because that's what makes it yours. Now, since we are talking about this, it's important that we also do cover just a few basics. So let's look at this slide here, and this is just something I've taken from somewhere else, not original, and I will put the link in to where this came from here with the presentation. So deliberate plagiarism, and this is where you did it on purpose, whether you meant to be deceptive or not, you still did it on purpose, right? So that's just rewriting from books or articles. Maybe you take 3 sentences from this book, a whole paragraph from that article, and you put it together, make it your paper, say it's your own. That would be deliberate plagiarism. Copying and pasting from web pages and online sources. Even if you're taking bits from this site, bits from that site, a piece here, a piece there, if you're putting them all together, even though you didn't just copy an entire web page, that's still considered plagiarism, because it's not your words and you're not giving clear and proper credit. Of course, buying, downloading, borrowing a paper in any way, either from a site or from someone you know, or from someone you don't know. Students do sometimes steal a paper without the other person's knowledge. All of those things would be deliberate plagiarism, and they have very serious consequences. And like we've been discussing, those aren't ways to write with honesty. Remember what we said at the beginning. You're smart and you're capable, so there's no need for anyone to even go that route. We're going to write honestly. But sometimes you have great intentions, but you have what's called accidental or unintentional plagiarism. And that's what we have over here. And this is when you don't really know when and how to cite. For this class, it's really important that you use proper citations, and so we'll be talking about that. And if you have questions, you can always feel free to ask. But remember that APA requires both an in-text citation immediately following your quote or your paraphrase, and then you also include the reference page entry that gives the full bibliographic information. So you need both because they work together to give your readers the information they need. The next problem comes when you don't know how to paraphrase or summarize. So some people think that paraphrasing is where you just switch, every third word you put in a synonym, or you can summarize by taking the first sentence and the last sentence and throwing in your opinion in the middle. Those things aren't accurate ways to paraphrase or summarize, and so make sure that you're paying attention to the textbook reading about paraphrasing and about summarizing, and then the activity you have through the week. If you have questions about that, feel free to let me know, and we can discuss more about that. Not knowing what common knowledge is. So common knowledge is when generally educated people should know it. Okay, so we know that water freezes at 32 degrees, right? Or we know that there are 50 states, or we know that July 4th is a holiday. Okay, so that's common knowledge. That information is found in hundreds or thousands of sources. A generally educated person knows it or knew it at one time. Maybe they've forgotten. And so we don't have to cite common knowledge because we don't even really know the authorship of that knowledge, who initially made that comment or that fact. And so those type of things we don't have to cite if we know for sure they're common knowledge with our audience. If we're not sure, then we should still go ahead and cite it. Something specific, like a statistic about your topic, or information from a particular case study, the results of a scientific experiment. Those things are not common knowledge because they were actual people who did the experiments or found the statistics or did the research to come up with that information and who presented that information. Okay, so general things that we all know or we all knew when we were fresh out of high school, that's common knowledge and doesn't have to be cited. But the more specific and detailed information you definitely have to cite. When in doubt, cite or ask me and I can let you know. And then finally, this is a key one, recycling an old paper. Remember that your work for each class should be new. Okay, so you can't use this paper in your psychology class unless you talk to both professors and both say that they are okay with you using parts of it. Even if they let you use parts of it, they're not going to just say, yeah, turn in the same thing twice. Okay, it's going to be like kind of two versions of a paper, or you keep the same topic but go more in depth with a certain point, or maybe take a different spin on it or switch the purpose of it. Okay, so reusing a paper, even if it's your own writing, is considered plagiarism if you don't have permission from both instructors or all of the parties involved, because the professors think that they're getting new and original work that you've done right then in that term. And so if that's not the case, then there's going to be a problem, and that's a dishonest representation of your work. And so that's why that's important. Each course has objectives and each course has requirements. And so if you're not meeting the requirements of each course, then that hasn't been academically honest. Okay, so I know that's kind of a quick rundown of these issues, but they're very important. I think it's an important point in our term for you to start thinking about these things and asking questions. Questions on these topics are good. Asking a question about plagiarism doesn't indicate that you might be thinking about cheating or that you lack the knowledge or anything like that. It's much better to ask, have these discussions about how we can be writers who have integrity, writers who have honesty, and writers who present our information fairly, accurately, and appropriately. So please ask questions if you have them. Make sure you're reading the textbook carefully because that will help you a whole lot as well. And then, like I said, just let me know if you have questions.